Gene Munster joins us here on the technology of the moment. Gene Munster, I want to go bigger, broader with you because we sort of beat to death, the minutia news and all that on Nvidia or more iPhones out of Nikkei saying Apple's doing better. Scott Galloway is one of the wisest people I know.
Yep.
And in some interview, Gene Munster, Scott Galloway said basically the single most important thing in his life is he's never listened to people who said, sell Microsoft, sell Apple, and now sell Nvidia. Time magazine, Norman Seff, the famous photograph, 1984, of Steve Jobs cross-legged on a living room floor with that ugly Mac. The rich kids owned it a million years ago. How does Gene Munster react emotionally when it's out there, these tech juggernauts, sell Microsoft, sell Apple, sell Nvidia?
Well, I think how I think about it is just what's the long term. You got to think the long term play, and there's the near term, and that's what's the vortex that's going around Nvidia today. And I generally react to a view of where the world is going. In the case of with Nvidia, it's a belief, a strong belief. I'm staking my career that AI is going to be having a bigger impact than the internet. And if that's the case, this trading around Nvidia today is largely noise, even though it is a $3 trillion company. And the reason why I still am comfortable and think of this in that same class as Apple and Microsoft is that ultimately is if you believe that AI is going to be as transformative, more transformative than the internet, and there's a second belief you have to have is that the way to get there is through scaling laws, which basically say you have to throw more compute and data at the problem to solve for intelligence. Then NVIDIA is going to be a winner. And I think that it is in a great place. I do want to add an additional angle to the context of just buy and hold forever is that Deepwater, we own NVIDIA. I think the next 2 years are going to be far better than what people are expecting today. But at some point, when you're a hardware-only company, there is a point of deceleration that needs to be taken into consideration. And I think that 2 years, 3 years from now, this may be a position that will trim. But we think today is the time to own it.
Gene, when somebody like you, Gene Munster, says they're staking their career on this, that really, really resonates for a lot of our listeners and viewers. Gene, can you just remind us how you view AI in the context of the internet, electricity, stuff like that? Because that really hit home when I first heard you say that.
So, I guess those that believe that this is going to be transformative kind of struggle for the right analogy. Is it the internet? Is it mobile? Is it electricity? And at the core of humanity is intelligence. And the concept of having intelligence in real time at scale is something that it's hard to put a value on it. I think it's much more valuable than connecting machines and connecting data. As powerful as that has been, I think intelligence is a more powerful aspect to it. And so there is a huge missing piece around the substance of what does that actually mean? Like, how is that going to impact our lives? And the use cases and the examples have been few and far between about how AI is like profoundly impacting our lives. And I just want to give one quick example. If we would go back in a time machine in 95 and be talking about the potential of the internet, we could easily frame out that Facebook was going to happen with social connecting over the internet. We could see that Netflix was coming around the corner with video over the internet, but it would have been impossible for us to understand that the smartphone was going to come because that was obviously enabled by the internet. Those kind of second and third derivatives. And that's kind of similar to how I think about AI more broadly. And I'm not concerned that we don't have these killer use cases today because I think that those will present themselves as we reach closer to general and eventually super intelligence, which is where it really gets like crazy.
Were you surprised by the iPhone build-out reported by Nike today in Nikkei, in Tokyo? Did that surprise your team, Gene?
I'm not surprised. I think what is most important is that when I think about this next iPhone cycle, it comes back to this belief, and do you think that these features are going to be exciting for people? And I don't worry about what kind of the near-term builds are. whether they're positive or negative. What I think about is are these features people will want? And I just quickly I look back over kind of the last 17 iPhone cycles and try to compare what these AI features are going to do for demand. And I think it's similar to the iPhone 6 Plus. That was the first large
That's what you have now, Paul,
iPhone.
right?
Oh, yeah.
You have the iPhone 6 Plus?
Yeah, I think so, but I'm upgrading soon, Gene.
That's good. You're right there. You're only 10 years into it. It's time, Paul. But the iPhone growth went from 12% for the iPhone 5 cycle to 52%. I mean, it had a profound impact on how people got excited about these devices. One just more quick thought about how I think about the next cycle is that if we look at the total number of iPhones that are out there, there's about 1.5 billion active iPhones. The life is just over 5 years, average life of an iPhone. And if you take the next tranche, so take not the one that typically upgrades this year, but the one that's going to typically upgrade in late 2026, and you assume 10% of those, just 10% of those see these AI features and say, yes, I'm going to buy it a year early. The iPhone growth goes from 7 to 15%. And so the sensitivity around just getting a small piece of that massive pool to move forward is going to have a measurable impact on the business.
Gene, thank you. Gene Munster with us.
Thank you.
Today. Really, really appreciate it. And congratulations to our team.